As you look ahead to Easter and all the work involved, I have a question for you. Last year, how many people came back to your church the Sunday following Easter, and how many of them have a continuing relationship with your church today? If your answer isn't all you'd like it to be, I've got a proven and successful strategy to change that. Welcome to How to Get People to Come Back to Church After Easter. And by the way, this will work for other holidays and special events. I'm Yvonne Pren from Effective Church Communications, and let's get started. The typical approach to Easter and other seasonal events is that a tremendous amount of time, money, and effort goes into planning, inviting, and putting on the Easter week events. The result is a big turnout. And of course, Easter is the biggest one of the entire year, and everybody has a great time. Churches put on fantastic events, no doubt about that. However, even though the day or the event itself is considered a success, the following week it's often back to church attendance as usual. There's little increase in numbers, few ongoing connections. Discouragement and incorrect blaming often result. What went wrong? We ask ourselves, and we ask in our staff meetings. Here's what happens. We assume that just because we host a big Easter celebration, that people will think we are wonderful and they will all come back to church next week. But we forget that unchurched people or infrequent guests have no idea what the church does on a regular basis or even when they do it. Let me give you just one example. Oftentimes churches will put on fantastic things for children. Say at Easter they'll have an Easter egg hunt or even a petting zoo, something like that. And they assume that because they did all these wonderful things and they say, oh, come join us again at Sunday school next week, the people are going to think, this is a wonderful church and I'm going to bring my children back next Sunday. Churches forget that most unchurched people have no idea that something called Sunday School exists, or Kids Cove, or whatever you happen to call it these days. They don't know that that exists. They don't know why they should come. They don't know if it's safe for their children. They don't know anything about it, nor do they know what time it meets, because usually churches meet at totally different times for their special events. So what we need to do is we need to stop doing what we've been doing. And don't blame yourself, your advertising, or your church. Instead, I want you to try an entirely new strategy. This is what I've called successful seasonal strategy, and it has four key parts. First of all, I'm going to show you a comprehensive new process. I'm going to share the all-church team that's needed to accomplish it, the multi-channel communications that you need to create, plus give you a few tips on evaluation and encouragement. Now keep in mind too that this strategy, this overall strategy, will work well for all holidays and special events. Hi, Yvonne Pren here, and I hope you enjoyed that little introduction to the course on how to get people to come back to church after Easter. There's so much more in the entire course. Let me just go through a few slides very, very quickly to continue to give you a little bit of an appetizer for the course. I'm going to show you what people typically do, how they work on just getting people to the event, but then I'm going to show you all of the things that you need for continuing interaction and connections with people. Now, this is quite a process, but I will take you through every step of it, and I will show you all of the communications that you need to do. We'll talk about the team that you need to put together and their specific jobs, how each of them plays a very important part. One of the most important things that I'm going to emphasize is how this program really teaches your congregation discipleship in action. And I'll tell you why it does that and why it's so important and how you can make that a continuing part of your church. We'll talk about multi-channel communications and how important they are. We live in a time of both and, not just either or, and you need to do things in all the different areas from print to social media, and I'll be giving you tips on all of them. And of course, we'll go over the different communication pieces resources. You'll see why they're important. You'll understand how to use them. Not only will we talk about the communications that you need to do ahead of time, but the ones that you do during the service to bring people back. Of course, connection cards are one of the very most important things you can use, but that's not all, and we'll go through other pieces that will be very helpful. We'll also talk about how you follow up and how you invite people back. We'll briefly talk about how you evaluate what you've done. Plus, I want to emphasize that evaluation is really a time to celebrate, not a time just to beat people up if the numbers weren't exactly what you wanted. There's so much more for you, and to take advantage of all of it, please go to the entire course at churchcomtraining.com. For the templates that you saw briefly and for all of them that will be in the presentation, just go to effectivechurchcom.com. They are all free, so help yourself. And then for the course, of course, once again, go to churchcomtraining.com. And may the Lord bless you and give you joy as you serve Him today in church communications.